Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, today we are taking a deep dive into a literal masterpiece of puzzle gaming. We're looking at a 2001 Namco title that was purposefully designed from the ground up as the ultimate frantic conclusion to an incredibly iconic arcade series. The game is Mr. Driller G, and let me tell you, if you're a fan of high-stakes, fast-paced puzzle mechanics, you are absolutely in for a treat today.
To really understand what makes this particular game so incredibly special, you just have to listen to Retronauts co-founder Jeremy Parish, who called it essentially the pinnacle of the Mr. Driller arcade experience. I absolutely love this quote because it immediately sets the stakes for us. You see, this wasn't just treated as another run-of-the-mill sequel by its developers. It was meticulously built to be the grand finale of the franchise in the arcades. They were pulling out absolutely all the stops.
And that ambition to create a pinnacle experience, it's right there in the title. The G wasn't just some random letter they slapped on. The developers intentionally crafted this game to bridge the lore and the in-game universe with its spiritual predecessor, the 1982 classic Dig Dug. They really wanted to give players a recognizable, nostalgic touchstone while closing out that modern arcade run. It's kind of crazy to think about. They were building a unified gaming universe way before it was the trendy thing to do.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, Drilling to Survive, the frantic core mechanics. At its absolute heart, the core mechanics here are deceptively simple, but they generate an incredibly frantic experience. The real genius lies in its primary mechanic, oxygen. It's a continuously depleting resource, but it's not just a basic timer. It acts as both your health bar and your countdown timer simultaneously. This creates a constant, inescapable pressure, right? You aren't just trying to dig deeper to get a high score, you are quite literally drilling for your life. Every single second you hesitate, your lifeblood is just draining away. And this oxygen mechanic builds into a really brilliant system of risk and reward. So you have these blue air capsules scattered around. Snagging these as you fall replenishes your oxygen. They are your absolute lifeline. But then you've got these punishing brown X-marked blocks in your way. If you drill through one of those brown blocks, bam, you instantly lose a massive 20% chunk of your air. So as you navigate the board, you're constantly weighing the safest path downward against the desperate, immediate need to grab that life-saving blue capsule.
Which brings us to the core gameplay loop. You destroy a block, and anything unsupported above it naturally falls. If four matching colors connect when they drop, boom, a chain reaction triggers, clearing out even more blocks. It's actually a bit like Puyo Puyo in that regard, but here is where the adrenaline really kicks into overdrive. If you aren't paying super close attention to what's right above you, those falling blocks will crush your character instantly. It requires this split-second puzzle solving while constantly moving downwards so you don't get squashed.
Moving right along to Section 2, Pushing Boundaries, Innovations, and New Modes.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that while the arcade version released in March 2001 was fantastic, the PlayStation Home release later that year truly elevated the whole package. It introduced an adventure-based story mode and a beautifully absurd playable cast. So instead of just playing as our protagonist Susumu Hori, we get this wildly expanded team teaming up to stop the villainous Dr. Manhole. We've got Taizo Hori from Dig Dug, a literal dog named Poochie, a German rival named Anna Hottenmeier, and even a drilling robot called Hollinger Z. It just added so much personality and lore to the whole adventure. That PlayStation release also threw in completely new ways to play. You've got your standard mode, where oxygen depletes gradually over time, that classic frantic arcade pacing we were just talking about, but contrast that with the totally new Dristone mode. In this mode, oxygen doesn't tick down automatically. Instead, destroying a single block costs exactly 1% of your oxygen. It fundamentally shifts the game from a high-speed panic attack into a highly strategic, almost action RPG style of pacing.
And let me tell you, Dristone mode is incredibly deep. Destroying certain blocks reveals magical gems called Dristones, which you actually stash away in an inventory. These gems completely rewrite the rules. Depending on the color of the gem you pop, you might destroy every single block of a single color on the entire screen, or even warp all the way back to a previous section of the well. It massively rewards calculated puzzle solving and smart inventory management over just pure raw speed.
Oh, and another mind-blowing addition for that 2001 home release, online multiplayer. Two players could legitimately compete against each other online by connecting to Namco-operated network services. And get this, they could connect through a computer or even a mobile phone. I mean, for that era, pulling that off on a PlayStation puzzle game was a massive technical achievement.
All right, let's hit Section 3, Project Driller, the creative visionaries behind the magic.
We really need to take a second to appreciate the talent behind this title. Designed by Namco's Creative Department No. 2, affectionately known internally as Project Driller, this was an absolute veteran all-star team pulling out all the stops for their finale. We had series producer Hideo Yoshizawa working alongside director Yasuhito Nagaoka, who, fun fact, had just directed the racing classic R4 Ridge Racer Type 4. Minoru Sashidoda, who previously worked on Ace Combat 3, handled those incredibly slick, bright menu interfaces, and Kaori Shinazaki returned to design the eclectic new characters. Together, they built an impressive anime-style campaign that just oozed polish.
And we absolutely cannot talk about the vibe of this game without mentioning the sound. Composer Go Shina put together a wildly eclectic soundtrack. While previous games in the series lean really heavily into acid house, G took that foundation and blended it with totally new styles, especially these really jazzy J-pop compositions. It was a slightly bizarre but honestly brilliant musical direction that gave the game this distinct, high-energy atmosphere that you just don't forget.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, the culmination, a lasting retro legacy.
So how did all these wild innovations, new modes, and fantastic aesthetics actually land with the public when the game dropped in Japan? Well, just look at that number. Number 2. In April 2001, according to the arcade trade publication Game Machine, Mr. Driller G was the second best-selling arcade game in all of Japan. The only game that managed to beat it was Capcom's heavy hitter, Street Fighter 03 Upper. That is a staggering, monumental achievement for a puzzle game going toe-to-toe with top-tier arcade fighters of that era.
So the crucial point here is that this game wasn't just a commercial hit. It was an absolute critical darling. It secured the prestigious Silver Hall of Fame award from Famitsu magazine. Critics universally lauded it for its incredibly deep content, those inventive gameplay additions like the Dristone mode, and its stellar audiovisual presentation. The Japanese publication Game Watch literally called it the culmination of the series, hitting the nail right on the head.
Now, for a really long time, this gem remained a Japanese exclusive, which was a huge bummer for puzzle fans globally. But thankfully, it was resurrected digitally on the PlayStation Network in Japan under the Game Archive series back in 2013. This finally allowed a much wider, modern audience of retro fans around the world to import it digitally and experience exactly what they'd been missing out on all those years.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to ponder today as we wrap things up. As puzzle games have largely transitioned entirely to mobile devices and modern home consoles, did we lose some of that frantic, pulse-pounding magic of the arcade original? Mr. Driller G stands as a real testament to an era where developers had to master this incredibly delicate balance of punishing difficulty and undeniably pure fun, just to keep players feeding coins into the machine. It's a legacy of arcade design that I think still holds powerful lessons for the games we play today. Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.